What's up, everyone? Welcome to a new episode of High Altitude Motorsports. We're here working late. It's Saturday evening. We're draining the coolant on this 2015 Dodge Ram 3500. We're doing new head gaskets, head studs, and some head work. We're going to be adding some power to this truck, so we just want to get everything, kind of do some preventative maintenance on it. I can't even talk very much. I've lost my voice, as you can tell, but we are in the process of draining the coolant, and I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of a step-by-step on this process. I am in a rush. We got to get this head out tomorrow, which is Sunday, and we're basically just got a whole chaotic week ahead of us, so I'm going to do my best to film as much of the process as I can. But to start, basically, we have taken the grill off. So there is a plastic shield that goes here with some Christmas tree clips. You pop those off, and then there's 4 10mm bolts. Take those off, and then you just have plastic clips that go around the grill. Once you've done that, then there's this little splash shield. You take that off, and then you have access to in here. Right there, the drain plug. And then what I've kind of done is I've rigged up a hose that goes to it, and then it's draining into this bucket. The bucket's dirty. We're going to be putting new coolant in this anyways, so I'm not super concerned about it. And that's kind of how you drain that out. I just used my snap-on 3/8 drive ratchet, and I think it was an 18mm socket. And then obviously you want to take your cap off to allow air through the system, so it will drain a little bit quicker and drain the whole thing out. So I'm going to close the shop down and let this drain overnight, and then in the morning I can start basically tearing apart all this head. And like I said, I'm going to try and do the best that I can to kind of go step by step with this. Obviously it has a EGR kit off on it, and yeah, we're gonna kind of show you guys as much as we can. Obviously trying to get this done in a timely manner and film is a bit challenging, but figured we'd show you guys the process. So we'll see you in the morning. It's a new morning. The coolant is drained out of the truck, and we're gonna start on this head gasket job. So the first thing to start the day is you gotta have yourself a nice cold Dr. Pepper. So with this particular S&B intake, I didn't really need to take anything apart. I just got this clamp, basically that connects to the turbo off. This clamp for the crankcase vent, and then there's the active ram air box on the 13 and up trucks. So I just disconnected that, and then this is just held in with an 8mm Allen for this S&B intake, and then that frees up a little bit of space here. Now, depending on what kind of things you're going to be doing while you're removing the head, there's a couple options. You can either pull the manifold and the turbo out at the same time. You can pull everything with the head all together. It's really just a personal preference. Most of the time you can get everything out together, and that's kind of what I think my goal is on this one. I haven't done one on the newer trucks, so I'm not really sure, but they do have a hook spot in the front and the back, and then you can use your cherry picker just to pull it right out. So it's kind of what my goal is, but we'll just have to see how it goes, and if I do need to pull the manifold and the turbo separately, then I'll do that. So right now I'm going to get the downpipe off of the exhaust, I'm also going to get this intercooler piping off of the turbo back there, and then I'll probably go to the other side and start getting the intake horn and that stuff. That V-band out, this is what I use. Usually an array of extensions, 11mm socket, my electric impact, hammer, pry bar, just to break that clamp out. And now I have gotten the clamp out, so this side is basically pretty much ready to go. I'm gonna get the oil and coolant lines taken care of, and that is pretty much about it on this side. I'll probably get all the upper coolant lines off as well too. So this whole contraption, some of the sensors, the coolant lines that go into the block over there. There is the coolant line and oil line there, and then there's a coolant line and oil line on the bottom. For that, I'm gonna have to probably just take this splash shield out, and then this side will be ready to go. So I'll start with the top side first, and then we'll work on the bottom side. Alright guys, so we just got the top of the engine on the passenger side pulled all apart. We went underneath. I ended up using an extension and a 21mm, and we didn't have to take the wheel liner out. We were just able to get this out and the 2 turbo drain bolts. So now everything on the passenger side has been completely taken apart. I'm gonna make some noise, ready? I think the last thing that I'm gonna take apart is the belt. And this alternator looks like it might get in the way, so we're going to take that out as well. I just realized the camera battery just died, so we made a little bit of progress. I got the upper radiator hose out. It's pretty simple, straightforward. I ended up just unbolting it from the thermostat, and I took the belt, just loosened it so I could get the alternator off. I don't think you really need to take the alternator off. I just didn't want any of these wires getting stuck on the alternator. The belt I got off from down below using a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. And now I'm gonna start working on the driver's side of the engine and basically taking the intake horn off. All the fuel lines and fuel rail will just completely come out, and moving the oil dipstick and transmission dipstick and all the electrical connectors. And then from there, we just have to start taking apart everything inside of the valve cover, and then we will get eventually to the head bolts and pull this sucker out. So we have taken a couple things apart. I just wanted to touch base with it. So this is the upper valve cover. These are with 8mm bolts. This crankcase filter just pops right out. Just has some O-rings. Then after that is the secondary valve cover, and then these are just the 10mm There's 6 of them. And then after that, you have the valve cover gasket, which is also the injector harness. They have these 8mm nuts that have the wiring ring attached to them. And so you take those all out with an 8mm. And then from there, now we're taking the rocker arms out, which are 10mm. They just sit in the center of these. And then we're gonna take each one individually out, making sure not to drop anything. And we're also going to make sure that these stay in order from front to back. And also you wanna be clean as possible, but a lot of these parts we're sending to the machine shop or replacing. Also, we're gonna be cleaning a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna keep everything organized and as clean as possible. And then we will, yeah, just go from there. So once you take those rubber pieces off, you're able to take your push rod out. All right, so now that we have removed the rockers, the lifters, the rocker arms, basically everything, now we are able to remove this valve cover riser, is what I like to call it. And then from there, we're gonna remove the fuel line off the back of the block. And then I believe we should be able to start getting all the head bolts out. I'll probably end up pulling the injectors as well, just to make room for the chain. If anything hits it, it doesn't bump into the injector and screw things up as well. So to get these out, you should get the tool. If you don't have the tool, you can use a pry bar or a flathead screwdriver. They come out relatively easy. So guys, there's a banjo bolt for the fuel release, and it's in the very back of the head. I just broke it loose with this 17mm shallow socket. Now that I've broken it loose, I'm gonna go get a wrench and then get it off from there. And this is the bolt, and you guys are gonna wanna replace all these banjo bolt washers for that and any of the other ones we took off. There's 2 on the top of the turbo and 2 on the bottom of the turbo, and now I just dropped that bolt, so hopefully I can find it. Got dirty hands, I can't hold anything. So I also just pulled, I'm gonna try to set this to where it's not too blinding. There was a banjo bolt that went into the fuel rail here and a fuel line that went into this port right here. I also removed the fuel line that goes around to the back. I took that off, and then I also removed just the banjo bolt that was on the back of this distribution block, and then I also loosened this fuel line. That way it could just swing down. And now we are at the point where we are going to pull all the head bolts. And then I'm going to try not to make a big mess, but this job you pretty much are gonna get oil and coolant pretty much all over the place. Obviously, the cleaner you can do this, the better. So yeah, we're gonna go on from here now. I got the cylinder head off and I was able to sneak the turbo past everything. And then I just wanted to show you guys also, I have this all going from the front to the back and left to right. If there is a side variance like these, obviously have a left to right. And everything is obviously on a clean piece of cardboard, but I'm going to take it, clean all the parts off and put it on my cart, and then I will be wrapping everything and keeping everything protected. We are sending this cylinder head out, and they're going to inspect it and do all the stuff that it needs. And the reason I take the cylinder head out with the exhaust manifold, it just makes things a lot easier. I can set it on my bench, take all the manifold bolts out, and take that whole process out without trying to do it while it's in the truck. Makes things a little bit easier, but basically from there, it's just going to be cleaning up and waiting on the cylinder head. So we'll make that part 2, getting the cylinder head back. If they allow us to get any footage, we will. If not, we'll show you guys some pictures and videos when the cylinder head comes back. And otherwise, if you guys have any other questions or need this work done to your truck, you can come to High Altitude Motorsports. Our email is highaltitudetrucks@gmail.com. We're in the process of switching that to Motorsports. But in the meantime, if you guys have any other questions as well, you can leave them down in the comments. I'm happy to answer anything. Obviously, I wasn't going in depth with what tools and things like that. Probably on the install video, I might do all the torque specs and sequences. That way you guys can have them. Other than that though, this video is basically done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Smash the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and turn that bell on for part 2. We'll see you guys in the next video.